Good morning, everybody. Lee Brower here, and welcome to this week's edition of Meaningful Monday. I am grateful to be here, and I am glad to be here. This morning I'm especially grateful for reminders, for people that remind us that true strength is found not just in what we build here, but in what endures beyond here. This week I had somebody visit our home for the very first time. He's a professional, but he was walking through the house, and he looked into my office and he saw a picture of me and Coach John Wooden. And he says, "Is that Coach John Wooden?" I said, "Yes." "Did you know him?" I said, "Yes, I knew him very well." Oh, and he raved. He's a raving fan. Talked about how he grew up in Boise, of all places, but his sister went to school at UCLA and she would get tickets all the time. And he couldn't say enough nice things about it. So as he was looking at the picture, he said, "What's that behind it?" I said, "Well, let me tell you about this." You can all see that what I have here, if you can see it, it's a handwritten poem. And I said, "It's one that John Wooden wrote." He says, "What?" I said, "Yeah." I said, we picked him up at the airport and had his daughter Nan in the back seat with her husband. I was driving. Coach Wooden was alongside of me. And as we were going up the street towards the Marriott, he said, "Can you pull over?" And I could tell he was emotional. So I pulled over. And as he's sitting there, he said several years ago, now his wife died in 1981, Nellie. And you talk about, he was the most in love man I'd ever met. Okay. He loved her. And in fact, he told me once, I said, "How do you pray, Coach?" And he said, "Well, God may not be happy with me, but I go over to Nellie's side of the bed first and I talk to her." He said, "And then I go and talk to God." Wow, that's pretty cool. But anyway, he said, when I was here, he said, I went for a walk, a jog. He said, I jogged up around your Temple Square area and came back down and went into my room. And he just said, I felt so overwhelmed that I wrote a poem. And then he started to recite it. And as he's reciting this poem, he gets very emotional. And I look in the backseat, and Nan's emotional. I'm emotional. Her husband's emotional, and Ann's husband. And here's the poem. Would you like to hear it? Okay, so, oh, and let me tell you how I got this. So after we had an event we went to that night, and we had everybody had programs. And I was talking with him. I said, "Coach, you know that poem that you talked about today? Can you send me a copy of that?" He says, "I'll do better than that, Lee." He takes the program, turned it over, and he wrote the poem, and that's where we have it here. All right, so here's what it says. It's called "Don't Look Back." Think about the title, "Don't Look Back." He said, "The years have left their imprint on my hands and my face. Erect no longer is my walk, and slower is my pace. But there is no fear within me because I'm growing old. I only wish that I had more time to better serve my Lord. When I've gone to him in prayer, he's brought me inner peace, and soon my cares and worries and other problems cease. He has helped me in so many ways. He has never let me down. Why should I fear the future where soon I'll be near his crown? Though I know down here my time is short, there is endless time up there, and he will forgive and keep me ever in his loving care." Ooh, he had a poem he wanted to share, a poem he wrote after someone he loved dearly had passed. And even though Coach Wooden had won more games, more awards than almost anybody, what made him emotional that day wasn't trophies. It was the love that he still felt and his hope to serve others and be closer to God. He wasn't stuck thinking about the past. That was not the case. Even though it says don't look back, he wasn't stuck. He wanted to use every moment he had. Even when he was older, he'd do good things for others. I can remember going to his condo and him coming home from going to the elementary school and talking to kids. Here's a guy in his 90s who had been out of coaching for a couple of decades and still going to school talking to kids on how they could be better students, the things that mattered most. And these kids were just crowded around him. For some reason, he was a magnet. His words remind me that true, what I call enduring wealth, wealth that isn't measured by trophies or wins or accolades. He truly understood the concept. He measured it in terms of faith, family, and service, and the legacy we leave behind. It was always arrows out for him. I never knew anybody that was more focused not on looking back or looking on himself, not looking at what was lost, but at actually creating, or shall we say, irrigating a greater future for others. In the river, we call that stacking moments. We understand the value of our past, the learning. That's where our wisdom comes from. But we're also inspired by a bigger future. And Coach Wooden was always inspired by that bigger future. So that in the moment, he created ripples of greatest impact. And many people to this day still talk about moments where they've interacted with Coach Wooden, and his teachings and his legacy continues to live. He showed us that it wasn't about trophies. It was about winning hearts. It was about kindness. It was about faith. It was about good choices. It was about flowing out blessings to others. All right. So what's our question for today? I bet you can guess what it is. What's one small thing I can do today that shows kindness and keeps my river flowing? That keeps me focused on those things that matter most. Think about Coach John Wooden. I hope he can inspire you as much as he's inspired me. Have a grateful week. We look forward to talking to you next week. Bye-bye.